Hi everybody, Paul here from Hill Country Rings, and I just bought a bunch of wood rings off the internet, and I'm not so sure I got what was advertised. So let's go in this shop and check it out. Normally a wood ring will cost you anywhere from $130 on up, depending on the ring maker you choose and the complexity of the ring and what kind of metal you choose and what kind of wood. These were very inexpensive. They were, I think, $2 for a ring. This one is actually marked as tungsten carbide, so that's going to be very interesting to test. These others were marked as titanium. This one was supposed to be, I believe, titanium, and all of them, interestingly enough, said that they had Hawaiian koa. It seems to be a common thread in these that they say it's real wood, it's real Hawaiian koa. And this is Hawaiian koa, and this is what I use to make rings out of. I do make Hawaiian koa rings. This is a piece of it, and it's been sliced and it's been stabilized in resin. I'm not so sure about what this is. It sort of looks like it might be Hawaiian koa-ish. Going to check it out and break these rings open and find out a little bit more about them. So let's get started on that. For our first test here, we got some magnets, very strong little magnets, and I'm going to test these rings to see if we can tell if they're really made out of tungsten or titanium. And just as a reference, I've got a titanium ring here, and see it is not attracted to the magnet with anything that you can tell. I mean, they do say that tungsten can be paramagnetic or partially magnetic, but not to any great degree. And as you can see, it's not affecting the magnet at all. And this is a tungsten ring here, and then a titanium ring that I made. Okay, so this ring, as you can see, it picked up the magnet. So this one is basically just steel. This one's, it says it is, it's marked as titanium carbide, and it is not affected by the magnet. So this one could be tungsten. We'll test some more. This one is picking it up, the magnet. I believe he's steel. That one's definitely steel. And this one doesn't pick up the magnet. So we have two that may be tungsten or titanium. And then three that are pretty certain these are just steel. So we're going to test some more, and we're going to break them open and see what this wood inlay is. We'll start with this one that's supposed to be titanium with koa inlay. And the inlay has a really nice epoxy coating over it. So it actually looks very good. It feels fairly light, but it's heavier than titanium though. I believe this is just steel. So let's go ahead and cut this guy open and see what this inlay really is. Alright, we got him cut in half. I'm going to check him out. Well, I extracted a piece of the inlay, and I don't know if you can see it that good, but it's exactly what I thought it is. It's just an acrylic with a very, very thin, like a paper, printed of wood on the bottom. So it's mainly just plastic inlay, but because it has that paper on the bottom that has that wood inlay facing up, it looks like a wood inlay, but it is not. It's just basically that acrylic. And that's one for one. Let's dissect the others and see what we find. This is the ring that was marked tungsten carbide, and if he is tungsten carbide, there's no way I can cut him with this, just a cheap Dremel wheel. So let's give it a go. Well, this one, I did break the wheel on it. Those are very brittle, but it did cut. I mean, I cut through on both sides, so I do not believe this is titanium carbide. Let's check out what that inlay is. Okay, we're going to do another test for this ring to see if it's really tungsten carbide, and we call it the hammer test. So we're just going to give it a good whack with a hammer and just see what happens to it. All right, we just bent it like a horseshoe. If this was real tungsten carbide, which is very, very strong but very brittle, it would have shattered into 100 pieces on the very first whack. So this is definitely not tungsten carbide. And the inlay is the same as the other ring. It's basically just a very thick acrylic over just some printed paper. It's made to look like wood, but this is basically just plastic over paper. Now this one, the grain appears to go long ways instead of perpendicular to the ring. So I'm going to go ahead and cut him open. I've got high hope for him. I know this one's going to be real. So let me go ahead and do that. They get warm. But he went everywhere. I have to find him now. Well, I found both sides of him pretty easily, which I wouldn't really be able to do if he was real because I found him using a magnet. Just ran over the floor with my magnet and pulled him right up. So let's go ahead and pull his inlay out and see what the inlay is. Well, imagine my shock and amazement when I found that it was nothing more than just paper with the grain going the other way with a coating of the resin over it. So it's basically just plastic over paper, the same thing. This gives a little better view of it. I've actually been able to peel away the paper from the plastic. So kind of dissected what that inlay is. And here's another tungsten ring, or at least it said it was tungsten, but you can see that I just kind of squished it and the core popped right out. And again, this core is just that printed paper with the plastic over it, and it's just a cheap plastic inlay, not real wood, and definitely not real tungsten. So these rings aren't looking too good, and you get what you pay for. This is the one that I'm really most interested in testing. It is a inlay, arrow inlay with Hawaiian koa. It says it's tungsten. It was $10.60 on Amazon. I've seen it for more on other sites, and I've seen it for less. So let's go ahead and see if we can cut this guy. This guy may be tungsten because he did not cut. He did not cut at all. So I'll give him that. As you can see, I did cut through the inlay. That was easy. But the ring did not cut. I've tried it twice. So this could very well be tungsten carbide. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out the inlay and see what that inlay is, and see if it's real or if it's another cheap fake. So what this looks like is another, unfortunately, it's wood grain paper glued down to the ring core. But this one has a little, very thin, this little tin arrow is glued over that, and it goes all the way around the ring, and then the epoxy is I guess poured on top of that. But you can see this isn't part of the ring. This is just an inlay over that paper, that wood grain paper, and then the plastic's just poured over that. So unfortunately, the inlay wasn't as good as the ring core evidently is. I think this ring core might be. I'm going to give it another test. We're going to give it the whack it with a hammer test. Okay, as previously mentioned, in the whack it with a hammer test, if this is real tungsten carbide, it will just shatter. So here we go. And it did. This thing shattered. So with its strength and the way that it shattered when I hit it, I believe this is probably tungsten carbide. So they did use a good core, and then they just cheaped out on the inlay. There's nothing wrong with someone selling inexpensive rings on the internet as long as they're not representing them as being real wood or being handmade, because these are definitely not handmade and they're not real wood. Well, here's my fabulous collection of wood rings. One that looked like it was actually titanium carbide, but had a very cheap inlay. All of them had cheap paper inlays with the plastic over them. None of them were what they said they were. But I only spent a few dollars. I mean, literally a couple of dollars on each of them. So I'm not out that much. And it was a good experiment, and I learned a lot about this, about what's out there. And I think the lesson is you should learn out what's out there too. And if you're looking to have someone do a wooden ring for you, do a little research. Do you see the same exact ring other places? Do you see it on Amazon.com? Do you see it on Wish.com? Do you see that exact same ring for $3? There are people out there that will take that and then sell it to you for $75. So do some research, ask some questions, ask that ring maker, send me some pictures. Can you send me some pictures of making these rings? Can you show me some videos of you making these rings? If you see somebody that's selling rings that they've got 10,000 sales of custom handmade rings, they're not making 10,000 handmade rings and selling them. Rings, these are one at a time. The rings I make one at a time, maybe 2 a week. So be very critical when you see these rings, people that have lots and lots of sales and are selling these rings, the exact same ones that you see other places. So if you'd like to know more, check out hillcountryrings.com. That's my website. It's an Etsy shop. Send me some questions. If you've got questions about what kind of woods I use, if you have a wood that you would like made into a custom ring, or not just a wood, I can do like a fire hose, used fire hose. If you've got a family member that has like their uniform and like their uniform put into an inlay ring, I can do that. I do a lot of custom work, and it's very affordable. It's not going to be like $3 like these, but check it out. And I'd love to make a ring for you, and I'd love for you to get the ring that you really want. Thanks, everybody.